Welcome to our virtual forum, which is reflecting back on our Global Day of Creative Action that everybody here either took part of or was involved or interested in some way. So the project was really successful with around 90 works across 27 different continents and states, countries and states around the world. And a lot of new work was generated, new relationships with community, and a lot of really exciting outcomes for some of our practices. So congratulations for everyone who participated and everyone here who contributed in some way. We're going to have an online exhibition of all of the virtual works on the 2nd of November that's launching. And obviously we also have this forum. So we had one yesterday, which was really fantastic, and a lot of great things emerged from that. One of them I'm going to present back to you guys today to keep riffing off. But also we don't want to be an arts organization, and I'm sure you don't want to be artists, that is simply about putting up work in spaces and then walking away. And though there can be benefits to that at times, there is something lovely, I think, about what Microgalleries does, which is sit back, reflect, unpack it, discuss it amongst ourselves as a global community, and then return back to the project better, different, coming at it from different angles in ways we'd never thought about, because as a global community, we've come together to contribute to it in some way and improve it and shift it. So I just want to start off with a couple of quotes that I've read recently that I think really relate to what we've been trying to achieve. So Bill McKibben said, despite the array of groups and organizations working on global warming, we are still missing a key element, the movement. Along with the hard work of not-for-profit lobbyists, environmental lawyers, green economists, sustainability-minded engineers, and forward-thinking entrepreneurs, it's going to take the inspired political involvement of millions of, he says Americans, I'm going to shift it to people, to get our country on track to solve this problem. And I think that what we did on the 21st of September was a small way of trying to energize a movement to people who potentially haven't thought about this issue before, or people who haven't considered their role in it, haven't considered aspects of it, and you involve them in the conversation. This isn't just about accessing people on a global scale, it's about accessing people in your city, your village, your street. And I think that was a really interesting aspect of what all of you did. I heard Helen Clarkson speaking recently. She's the CEO of the Climate Group. She says something a little bit similar in some ways. She says, I've been working on this for a very long time, and what we've really found difficult is to get any sort of interest from the public, because it's always seemed like, yeah, it's in the future, it's a bit far away. So she then goes on to talk about something called the action gap. And this is something that we found in the last forum kept coming up over and over and over again. It's between people knowing what's happening and then actually doing anything about it. So this can range from not using straws and plastic bags to understanding what really needs to be happening at an individual and a political global level. And again, I feel like a lot of the things that people were talking about, addressing and trying to do with their work was trying to close that action gap. You closed it simply by being part of the project and doing so amazingly at it. And so hopefully what we're going to see throughout this conversation, and if you have time to listen to the recording of the last one, is how all of us in our own way are indeed trying to close that action gap, which I think is a really incredible thing for the arts to be contributing to. It's a little bit of housekeeping just about the next hour or so. There's a chat mechanism on Zoom. I don't know how familiar you all are with Zoom, but if you kind of like use your mouse, you can see down you have a bottom panel, and then there's a chat bubble. And if you click in that, it enables you to chat directly to other people in a private chat, which I believe I can't see either, though I don't know actually, so be careful. And there is a public chat, so it can go to everybody. So if you want to just put thoughts up or whatever during talks when it isn't the right time to vocalize, you can do that. If you want to have me ask a question on your behalf, we had a lot of Wi-Fi problems from some people in developing countries yesterday, so they switched to chatting on the chat mechanism, and then I was reading their questions out loud. If that happens to you, just switch over. It also has a raise hand button. If something's happening, if something's said that's quite provocative, you feel it needs to be responded to immediately, just raise your hand, press that button, and I'll flip over to you and unmute you. Again, I want to reiterate, this is being recorded and will be publicly disseminated. So though we're only a small group here right now, the plan is that we will be circulating this. I think that this is really important, that all of our information is accessible to people, to anybody who wants to watch it at any time. So we're in a way trying to create a resource here, hopefully. It's a way for people to get to know us, to see our faces, to hear our voices, connect to the person behind the creations. A lot of people felt that was amazing from yesterday. And I've got a lot of emails from people around the world who have, work obligations or family health obligations going on, and they want to make sure they don't miss it. So please ensure that you remember that when you're saying things. I do have the capacity to edit, but just be mindful of that. And without further ado, oh my God, I'm so on time. It's 9:10. Come on, anyone who knows me must be impressed by that. Okay, we still haven't heard from Kishan, which is a bit concerning, but he's not presenting until last. So I might mute myself and call him at some point. He was really responsive earlier this morning, so I'm sure he's having a tech issue. Okay, so if that does happen and we don't grab him, we'll do 2 of the Pecha Kutcha style presentations with the incredible Adam Kuby from USA and Bolena from Colombia. And then Kishan Shrestha is meant to be 3rd. He's from Nepal. So if we can't find him, we'll flip back to him when he does eventually drop in. So after that, we have our panel, and then we're going to have an open discussion. After each section, I'll also open it up for questions and discussion points if anybody wants to throw in or talk a bit about their work as well. Great. So Adam, I'm going to unmute you now, Adam. Da, da, da.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, and from the West Coast of the U.S.
Yeah. All right.
Good morning to you.
Wi-Fi. I will say US doing well in that area. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share the screen and flip over to you, Adam, and drop out so that you can go for it. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Woo! Okay, and off you go.
Great. Well, I just wanted to start off by saying, can we flip to the next one since it's not quite the beginning? But anyway, I just wanted to say thanks to Micro Galleries for making this possible. I mean, I really don't know any other organization that could bring together a DIY art community in just a few months to make this happen. So people got into the spirit of this on all parts of the globe, and it was really exciting to see people embrace Sea Level 2080 and make it their own while being part of this open source collective project, including drawings by, I'm not sure if it's a kid or if it's his dad, but it's a great drawing. And it also was just so thrilled that the project provided an event that sparked people to come together with friends or family or community, people of all ages. It was just this group in Brunei was working together in Venice, young people, old people, connecting with their group, but then also bringing their outreach about climate and climate issues to other people that were passing by. The project was both a participatory, in some cases a performative project. Some people walked it through public spaces, some people staked it out, but really people brought their own energy to each place. And I really love seeing how the fabric created a unique relationship with each location, landscape, cityscape, the people that were doing it, the way it interacted with each different site was really, it was just so thrilling to see this be both a kind of a constant throughout these different places that ties us all together, and yet each one crafted, collected in a different way. I think the exciting thing also was that the project gave some people a vehicle to move into performance and ritual, which is another powerful way to communicate our collective values and our needs and our desires. So here in Papua New Guinea, I'm not exactly sure what activity they were doing in the water or how they were using the fabric, but I know that it was obviously felt very connected to their community, their issues, their place. We were in Florida and had this amazing performance in Homestead, which is a place that is very susceptible to flooding and hurricanes, and two amazing local indigenous performers here in that part of Florida took it on and collaborated with fabric. Again, it was so great to see how this thing morphed and adjusted to each site, and yet stayed this kind of constant throughout the world. I think the project created some amazing visuals. I love this one. Powerful women making a powerful statement. And so again, created great visuals. I think it created some great media bites as it morphed and stayed constant across all these locations. And I really think that the concept was pretty easy for people to get and talk about. And the other exciting thing was that I felt like it engaged a range of communities, from really affluent places with resources to weather the coming climate crisis, and also poor and vulnerable places that will be affected most by what's coming. So I'm hoping that the project really created a connection and a deeper tie between all these parts of our planet. We're all in this together, and I felt this connection around the world with people who care. And again, people made it their own. They wrote on it. They staked it out in different ways. They did different actions and events around it. And some of the images that we got from around the world, I thought were just gorgeous. The fabric is alive. It moves in the wind. It responds to just the light and the air. And it really was its own kind of performance in each different location. Color, context, connection to the earth and the water and the sky. It was really lovely to see all the iterations. And I really believe it gave participants a sense of being both local and global. And at least that's the way it felt to me. And I think it really also worked very well in protest situations like happened in New York City, where the fabric really just communicated the coming water, the coming crisis. It created a visual. Tons of people were taking photos of it. These people created their own slogan around it. And as I said, a really great series of visuals that was both alarming and also gorgeous. So I think that's a wrap. And again, so thankful to microgalleries for helping to spread the word and make it happen.
Thank you, Adam. Amazing. Even though I witnessed it happen for the majority of it and was even there for some of it, just seeing all those images back to back was incredible. Congratulations. It's hugely successful work. You've got some people here live with you right now who are actually creative leaders of Sea Level 2080 in their own communities, and we're going to hear from them later. We can take like a quick comment or question if anybody has anything pressing they want to put out there. Feel free to jump in now. While you're thinking about that, good news, everyone. I've got in contact with Kishan. So hopefully he'll be online soon. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. All right, Anna, I hope you're ready from Colombia. Here we go. All right, Adam, you're now muted. Anna, I'm about to unmute you.
Hey,
Good.
hello.
Or wherever you're up to, evening, I suspect.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear everything here?
Yes, we've got you. We can hear you. Kishan, welcome. Good morning to you. I bet you're excited this early.
Okay, good evening here in Bogota, Colombia. A big hug. Thank you very much, Kat, for having me and give me this amazing opportunity to talk about our disruptive activities.
Thank you so much, Anna.
And thank you very much, Adam. Amazing sea level. I've been watching everything, but now seeing everywhere in the world is very inspiring. I hope to do it here in Colombia too, definitely. We need to show that.
Actually, because you have that incredible square that you've been working in that you're about to tell us about. Let me pull up your presentation and then you can get started.
All right.
All right, one moment. Flip over to share screen. Is everyone really impressed with my tech savviness? No, I'm feeling not a lot of people are impressed. I think it should be. All right.
All right.
Hang on, I'll just slideshow. Oh, where are we? Up here. Great. Okay, and off you. Oh no, is that the beginning? Yes.
Hello, this is Anna from Colombia. I would like to tell you about the different disruptive actions we did on the global climate strike. The first one in the first photo is called The Guardian. It portrays a child that's watering the Amazon rainforest. It is done by my friend Pecha, and she wore, as you see in the second picture, with her daughter. And it was a very beautiful project because it shows how the innocence of children can give us an interesting and beautiful side of the ecological and climate crisis, the one that they contribute the least. On the video you could see how Catalina and her team are pasting the photo installation. This is a like 3 meters photo that is on public building in Bogota. The second disruptive action we did is called Amazon SOS. As you see in the photo, it's an event where different artists present different performance arts and installation, also music, mapping. Is compounded by 2 projects. This one is called Resilience and it's about children expressing their insights on the ecological and climate crisis. It's called Resilient and it means that we adapt, we recover and we live. And it's done by Laura Montes Guerrero. And what she does is take audios of the children messages of what they think about the climate crisis. This video installation was portrayed also in Amazon SOS. As you can see in this photo, there are a lot of people that were gathering that day, and it was a very interesting and spontaneous performance where people got the banners and the different protests and they were doing some workshops. This project here in this photo is an Inside project platform that we did with Juanita Cardona, and with her we took 60 big posters of people in Bogota with different backgrounds. Here you can see an indigenous, also foreign people in different languages in the message. The messages were about the ecological crisis and the destruction of the Amazon. And here is the banner. We hold it on the tree in the main event in the Amazon SOS. And this is a fireman that was helping us to hang the posters on the trees. It was very interesting that he cooperated a lot with us. As you see here, we hold some of these amazing posters in the trees. Unfortunately, a storm came by the next day and took away all the photos. Here we can see some spontaneous participation of the public in that day, and there was some messages about veganism and protection of animals and forest. And it was very inspiring day. I was very amazed by the inspiration of people and how they could just express their message against destruction of the Amazon and destruction of the planet. Here you see how they were happy, enjoying. It was very interesting. There were a lot of music and art, and here in this photo you can see that people were spontaneously doing acrobats, and they were doing some poetry, and there were children around the area. They were the center of the event. Actually, there were friends, a lot of people. We in the beginning, in the afternoon, we were some hundreds, and then here is me, and then doing a poetry. We were very inspired by this amazing scene. In there, we were like 1,000 people gathering in this square. The police arrived and they left. Everything was very pacific and inspiring, not just for us, the producers. They were just girls, but I imagine that those people that were there, we hope that we plant the little seed of transformation that disrupted day. Thank you very much, Micro Galleries and Kat, for such a lovely initiative and for so much love and compassion to the world of art.
Thank you, Anna. How amazing.
I hope
this is a good 1 minute while I'm changing slides in case anybody wants to jump in with a question, thought, anything at all at this point. Or we're all good. Wow, see, look, everyone's presenting so well. No one needs to know more. All right. Okay, Kishan, unmute.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Kat. How are you?
Mate, how are you?
I'm good.
Hey.
Just been back from a trek, just yesterday.
You're amazing. We appreciate you being here. Awesome. What I'm going to do is share your slides now. So you ready?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Here we go. And we can go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Kishan from Nepal. And the first picture is, this is on the way to our venue. This is from Bodha. So I'll just say some things about this picture. That's because that I just been from coming back from a trek from the mountains. The air is very clear there now, but you can see in Kathmandu and other places, it's still, like the dust, the quality of air is really bad. And that's what I wanted to show in that picture. So our event was called Muddy Hands Presenting Celebrating as One for disrupting climate disruption. So celebrating as one, why it came up like that was, so as an artist, we were always focusing on, like performing and playing and where people would be happy and stuff. So this time what we did was we did some research and we came up with a group of people, like a bunch of vendors that, they were doing this, selling this alternative, this ideas or alternative solutions. So this one picture, it's from Best Pani. What they do is they harvest rainwater. They were doing it live for us in the event, which is really wonderful to see. So yeah, we collected like bunch of these kind of alternative solutions. Like one was plantable pens. One was this pen, you could write it down and you could plant it, and the other was tire treasures. You can see on the picture, it's a tire treasure. It's a furniture made out of tires, this recycled tires. So this is Best Pani again, the live rainwater harvesting thingy. So we had the 13 or 14 these kind of alternative solutions with us. So, and when we sat up for a meeting, it was really wonderful to see them actually how they were doing it. And we realized that me and my group, we were thinking, okay, these guys are the heroes, these guys are the ones that we should be supporting. And, these guys are trying so hard to be in the market also, because this main consumers market is really like, you know, like penetrating the whole thingy, and it's also affecting us and also the environment, you know, all the ecosystem. So we were like, yes, support this with our like all this art that we could do. These are some of my friends that were artists that were supporting me. The one before was Deepak Limbu. He was doing his live art there. This and yeah, and we had musicians, we had poets, we had yeah, we had musicians, we had poets, and we had artists. Yeah, and so this is the venue. So this was in Bauda. So Bauda is supposed to be this World Heritage Site and also like one of the peacekeeping places. And but it's, I tell you, it's very chaotic, and we were very lucky to find a very peaceful place inside it. And yeah, like Anna said before, there were a lot of people. There were monks from monasteries to like young students, very enthusiastic students, to like this old people and families, and you know, it was kind of a restaurant kind of thing. So there were a lot of uh, this the age group of people that was like very what is it, diverse, you know. So we were very happy. So this is again, this is Tired Treasures. Like they do this furniture thingy, and like people were really amused to see, oh, you can make this furniture out of tires. It's really nice. I would love to have this instead of, you know, this plastic chairs that we have in our home. And we were doing this interactive games with the people, and also with the messages, you know, like how you should be actually how you could actually think, have solutions, simple solutions for like a big this what to say, uh, for the things that you know, like, okay, here's one picture is there. So somebody wrote that I pledge that I will not fly, I will not fly for a year, which is really nice. That you know, like maybe he came to the event and saw some things in the event and were like, yeah, this guy, this is the guy. And he was like, he's from India, and he said, I don't want to, I will not fly for a year now, because it just made me realize, like, you know, like, okay, flying and many other things that in his life that he's doing, it's harming the environment or doing really bad to the environment. So so that was the purpose, I guess. The whole event and everywhere in the world was happening. There's the monastery, and it was also kind of peaceful, and we were not also trying to be like harsh on people, like, you know, you are doing this and you should not be doing this. But we were trying to celebrate by showing all these alternative solutions that we could do, and just changing some of our habits and some of our ways of life, that, you know, we could actually commit, and we could actually do something for the environment. And yeah, we had really fun, and thanks to micro galleries and cats, that, you know, all these things happened, and also made me realize that, you know, um, like a simple effort can do a lot of things. Like, yeah, and we had set up like a table of art with this what to say, this uh, with all these pens and all these papers that we had, and we put it there for people just pass us by, just to write a message. And it was really nice that they were having fun with art, and also, like, you know, being a bit cautious and thinking about the environment and the messages. And we were like, okay, that's nice, that, you know, just to write down, also you're thinking about it. If you're thinking about it, then it's nice. And I really like this last picture. I think this is the last picture. It's a monk from a local monastery, and he's looking at something that's really surprising. And for me, for me, this event, this day was really special for the time being. And yeah, I think I'm done. Yes. Kat? Hello.
Well done, Kishan. After a big trek, you must be exhausted, and I'm so impressed that you managed to
Okay.
pull that together. So well done, like really, really amazing.
Uh-huh.
I'm particularly loved the tangible solution-based organizations who are actively doing stuff against working together and incorporated with people who are creatively expressing that. So Brilliant. Well done. I'm going to open it up to everybody now. We've got like 5 minutes where we can just make comments or ask any of the artists questions. So please feel free to do that. Just unmute yourself and jump on in and ask a question, or you can type it here. So yeah, please let me know. Any questions for any of the artists who just presented, or any thoughts and comments? Songs. I'll take songs. Wow, you can't have all done that well. Great. Lynn is just saying how amazing it was that so many people were involved. Kishan, again for you and Anna, really, actually for everybody, it sort of all of your projects took on an entire festival-esque life of themselves. They were either happening globally or they were huge, happening over a period of time. Or Kishan, for example, I remember when you first messaged me about it, I was like, oh yeah, he's got an idea. I didn't think you had basically a one-day festival in mind. So everyone kind of ended up doing a whole event project unto themselves, and the amount of people that you reached by doing that was extraordinary. I'm going to give it another minute or two to see if there are any thoughts or questions, and then we're going to move on.
Well, I was just going to say, this is Adam. Can you hear me?
It's feeling a bit AA all of a sudden. Go for it, Adam.
I was just going to say, yeah, that both Anna and Kishan really reached a ton of people and really took over a space, a public space, in a really bold way. And that's what we need to do. And you did it in kind of a DIY, you know, just make it your own, bring your friends, make it a happening, make it cool, make it alive. And I can't think of a better way to reach people.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Kishan, you can go for it.
Yeah. Can I say something? So, you know, one of the this interesting thing that I experienced was the entire budget for this day was $50, you know. So, yeah. So we were like really amused and amazed that, okay, like just $50 could do a lot of things, you know, because we had a lot of supporters for us, and they helped us with the venue, and they helped us with a lot of things. So on the only money that we had to spend was $50. So, you know, like never underestimate that what you have and what you could do, because a lot of things could be done just like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of you guys are so resourceful and so phenomenal in what you make happen with no money. But at the same time, I think it's getting to the point we must demand money. There are plenty of corporations, for example, out there doing incredible transgressions against the environment that certainly could cough up some cash to help alleviate some of their impact through things, Kishan, like what you're doing. So yeah, and I think that's our focus will shift soon to really try and enable a lot of you guys to be better resourced, all of us to be better resourced to make this happen. I think we're all getting really fatigued with having to do things for $50. But having said that, Kishan, it was an exceptional achievement what you did for $50. And Anna, I think what you did for $100. So yeah, truly, it's also a good reminder for many of us working in better resource situations that even though we feel like we're really constrained financially, it's not on the same level as you guys. And I guess one of the great things about having a forum like this, having a collective within micro galleries, is that we can come together as a global community and help each other in whatever way we can, whether that's through financing or resources or knowledge. Okay, so I've got a question. Adam, I'm going to get you to unmute. This question is from Sarah Du in Fiji, Colourful Lives Fiji. She was the Fiji creative lead for your Sea Level 2080. She would like to ask, how did the idea of Sea Level 2080 come to you?
Hi, Sarah. It came to me when I was at an artist residency. And the property was in Florida that the residency was on, and it's very susceptible to sea level. So I was really focusing on how can I make something visual that will communicate what is going on and what's about to happen. And so I started stretching blue fabric around this this property, I had a map of where sea level might be at different points, 2050, 2080, 2100. And I just started stretching fabric and tying it off, and took a lot of photos. And then I was on another artist residency where I met Kat, and she saw it and she said, oh, we have to open source this. And then it took on another life through micro galleries with this project. So that's kind of how it happened.
Brilliant. Sarah, just type through or jump in and unmute yourself if you have follow-up questions. Jack just has written, I'm amazed to see how many people have been mobilized in so many countries with the same objectives. And that's happened very organically. And Jack, I can't agree enough. I was with Adam and another one of our collective artists, Luis, while this was all happening. And it kicked off for us. We were in America. It kicked off the day before because everything started, Sarah, with you guys in Fiji, and Jeffrey in Papua New Guinea. And then we moved to Australia. And what happened over that period, along with an amazing group of volunteers from our collective, Brian, Dara, Sarah, and Olga, who manned the fort while I was sleeping. Over this, in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, 24 hours. No, that's more like 48 hours. You followed artwork from Fiji all the way around the world to Hawaii. It was honestly incredible. It was like a wave of action, and it was happening on a small, intimate, micro scale, but it was powerful. And it really was that idea of like creative acupuncture that I talk about sometimes. It was like little moments just happening, and we followed it around the world and watched it spread organically online as well. And all of a sudden we're getting, I remember Adam sitting there with you at one point going, oh my gosh, here's a photo of someone doing sea level in Australia that hadn't signed up, had no information, had just been following us online and thought, I'm going down and doing it. And it was very powerful. And I think we saw with Greta, of course, how one person taking one action can start momentum. To reflect back to that initial quote by Bill McKibben earlier, that what we're lacking is the momentum. We're now seeing that with the school strikes, with Extinction Rebellion. So how can creatively we be, if not leaders, you know, an integral part at least of building that movement within our communities? And I think you certainly all achieve that in a multitude of very creative ways. Okay, so I'm going to ask, does anybody else have any other questions about those presentations? And of course, we can continue to talk at the end a little bit, or you can connect with these artists directly, or I can connect you if you want to follow up with any more. So last call for any other questions, thoughts, comments about those amazing artworks, presentations, giant festivals that you all did for $50. I think we could write a book or do a course on how to do things for $50. That would sell. And we've got so much experience. All right, I'm gonna say that we're wrapping up that section, and now we're going to move on to our panel discussion. So I've asked 3 people to come together to have a conversation about the subject. What part does art have to play in climate action and climate justice? We had a different panel discussion yesterday where we looked at how artists like Imagineers and able to create future possibilities through their work to help communities think about things differently, think about their future differently. And so now we're going to look a little bit more specifically at one of the points of this project, which was climate justice. So not just having massive, amazing artwork sitting outside big G20 meetings in the big cities that already have a very informed and resourced community who are well versed in this subject, but how can we take that idea and put it into communities who are actually the ones who are about to feel, if not already feeling, the effects of climate disruption already. And so also looking at how can we be, as artists, starting to work and be involved in this subject matter, not just translators of data, but how can we play a role in creating that momentum we talked about earlier in a positive way that advances not only climate action, but also creative practices and how we perceive and operate within the world creatively. So on our panel, we have the incredible Jack Hodges, who is from Australia, but is actually currently on our residency program in Kathmandu. And Kishan, I'm not sure if you know that, so you guys might like to get together for a lovely coffee. But Jack Hodges, if you'd like to just unmute yours. Oh, you know what? I'm going to unmute you guys. I have you all here. You're unmuted. Ayu from the phenomenal Girls Pay the Bills Collective in Indonesia. I feel like you're about to all wrestle. And Sarah Du from Fiji. Sarah, I'm going to unmute you. Now, I would like to also have your cameras on, but is everyone okay with that if I flick your camera on now?
Okay.
Great, Jack, you're ahead of the ball. Oh, look, I can see you've got police already. Great. Are you? I'm gonna. Yep, there you are. Hi guys. Sarah, are you okay? If we put your camera on.
Yes.
she doesn't. How do I do it from here?
Oh, where am I? Oh, there I am.
It says that I have. Oh, Sarah, well done. Hello. You managed to do it before me. Thank God for you guys. Where would I be without you all? Hello, good morning. I think it's good morning. Yes, good morning for everybody. Jack, particularly, you're up exceptionally early. Well done. Very pleased to have you all here for this discussion. It's just going to be more of a casual chat, but I do have some conversation points I'm going to throw at you just to keep the momentum of this happening. And guys, what we'll do is if you have any questions that you want to put to the panel as we're talking, just text them to me through the chat mechanism. Otherwise, at the end, we're going to open it up to everybody. Okay, so can we go one at a time and just sort of very quickly introduce our practice / collective if you're working in a collective, and just talk about what work that you did for, you know what might be, I wonder if it's a better idea that you all mute yourselves until you're asked a question. I can already hear a lot of crazy noise. So mute yourselves. Jack, I'm going to kick off with you, and just speaking, unmute yourself. Great, thank you. Okay, so 1 minute, tell us about yourself and the artwork that you were involved in contributing for the Global Day of Action.
Okay, so my name's Jack Hodges, aka Do What Feels Good. I'm a street artist, also an illustrator and a painter, but I also work with an isolated community in Central Australia called Yundamu, which is home to Warlpiri people. For the Creative Day of Action, we did a youth project. So the build up to the day, we created a video and painted a mural about the water, the lack of water in Yundamu, and how, it's increasing and soon there's not going to be any. So it's very real.
Thank you. Brilliant. And just to point out, we have had a couple of people who've been working very closely with First Nations groups who are definitely amongst some of the most vulnerable to what's happening around the world. So that's been really important work that you've been doing there, Jack, and a few other groups as well around the world. So thank you. Okay, Ayu.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Okay. So I'll start introduce us. So hi, I am Ayu, and this is my name is Tias. Yeah, we are from Girls Pay the Bills. We are a women art collective based in Indonesia, mostly in Jakarta. Some of us is in Yogyakarta, and then we actually do a lot of things. Like we didn't we focus on street art at the first time, like murals, stencils, and with face. But then after we explore other fields of art such as dance, performance art, conceptual art, and mixed media art. So anyway, all the works that we create and show are visible and accessible to anyone and are very interactive works. We focus on that. And then we also create the Infinite Border as the Global Day of Climate Change moment. And that was our first time making a film, actually. And that was something, a new thing for us too, right? Okay.
And it was incredible for anyone who hasn't seen it. these guys for like $100 made this exceptionally provocative, powerful, visually dynamic film. It was extraordinary. We're very impressed, guys. Like, the outcome, not to mention the process, was just amazing. So exceptionally well done. Guys, just go on our social media, and we're actually going to relaunch the entire film that they've done soon, so you can see it again. Okay, and then we have Sarah from Fiji. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. So I'm from Fiji, or you already know that. I've been practicing art for like 3 years now, and I'm currently a 17-year-old student at international school. We're a part of a group called Colorful Lives Fiji, and what we do is we visit settlements with disadvantaged children that don't have access to early childhood education and don't have much access to like learning the creative arts. So what we do is like do arts and crafts with them while also teaching them about climate change. And what we did for the Creative Action Day was a mural, which was titled A Walk Through Our Future. It was done on a bridge in the central city, as it's visible and public to everyone. It was also an open project where anyone that was walking by could come and join us. And the mural was basically two sides of the bridge, one with highlighting the beauty of our ocean, as our island is like surrounded by the ocean. And the other side was a more polluted ocean, showing how us humans and our activity have affected it, and corals, how climate change affects our corals, as many of them have been bleached. Yeah.
Great, and you also did Adam's Sea Level 2080
Yes.
on top of that.
That was yeah, done by the same group as well.
I mean, everyone, I hope your minds are blown. She's 17 years old. She's started and is running with other young people in her community her own organization called Colourful Lives Fiji. So everyone go follow them. And I have been giving her the same expectations, paperwork, information as all of you guys who are kind of end emerging point or established artists, and she's been knocking it out of the park. So yeah, I hate to say we're relying on the kids to save us all, but Sarah's just another reason to think, yeah, we really are. So really well done, Sarah. Great. Okay, so I'm going to throw a question out there, and we're going to start off with Girls Pay the Bills. What kind of climate injustice are you seeing within your community?
Okay. So our society is actually a direct victim of the impacts of climate change. Of course, including us, me and TS, and also all of the crews of Infinite Border. Like, for example, maybe you can tell your story. Maybe you can help me to tell. All right. So several months ago, TS had diagnosed having upper respiratory tract infection, or URI, caused by bad air pollution, of course, in Jakarta, and she has struggled with that for around 1 month. And it's not only yes, lots of people here diagnosed with the disease. And also lately in Indonesia, maybe some of you guys already knew, there are too many issues came out talking about damaged air, start from bad environment caused by power plants, and they give bad impact to the locals. And other thing is annual land burning. It's annual. Come on, it's annual. It's always happen every year. Land burning by the, of course, irresponsible corporates. And mostly the uncontrolled usage of motorized vehicles in Jakarta, which is the main cause of air pollution issues. Like they become you always hear about traffic issue in Jakarta, and of course impact to the bad air pollution too, something like that maybe.
Yeah, so there's a huge health cost that's occurring around the world. This isn't just about human movement or rising sea level, but it's in everyday existence for some people. Being here in Hong Kong, I'm experiencing what you're saying as well. The exceptional levels of pollution in China and in surrounding areas from China are just extraordinary. And even worked in Jakarta, and Jack, you're probably experiencing this in Kathmandu, and it might be a bit of a shock, and Kishan, you're living with this every day. Being in these places myself, I get there and I immediately feel fatigued constantly because I'm not getting the same quality of air as I would be getting in a place like Australia, where we're lucky enough to have much cleaner air. So, yeah, I feel like your video really, really punched that issue right.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And
we feel also surprised with the result, right?
Yeah. You surpassed any expectations I had. I was astounded. Particularly, a couple of things we should all note while we're having this conversation is that also Girls Pay the Bills are an all-female collective working in a very male-dominated, rigid environment in some ways. It affects people very differently there on the spectrum. But I know from experience of working with Ladies on Wall, for example, who are another female collective in Indonesia, that there are often concerns for safety, reputation. There's a lot of things none of us ever think about when we hit the streets to do any kind of art or put our self-expression out there. And so well done, not only did you guys do that, you stood in the middle of a main road in Jakarta with gas masks on and did like contemporary dance work. Ordinary. I mean, this is Jakarta, where I was on the back of a motorbike and a man stopped me and said, I can see a little bit of skin at the back of your shirt. So like, it's incredible. So well done. And I think these forums also, when we come together like this, show us that not only that, you're all on here, all of you almost, speaking in what is your second or third language to communicate these complex ideas. And so we've covered disparity in resources and culture, religion, and language amongst us, and it's incredible. So well done. I'm going to throw the same question at you, Jack. So what kind of injustice, climate injustice and lack of action are you seeing in the community that you work with in Australia?
Okay, so yeah, I guess one of the good things about the community is the air is really fresh. I was living in Jakarta last year, so I know what it's like to be breathing in lots of polluted air, so that's been really nice. But there's another issue, which is lack of water. So Yundamu's been in drought now for a long time. Last wet season, it didn't rain at all, really. And this wet season, they're expecting it to be worse. So it's getting drier, summers are getting hotter. Like right now, it's 38 degrees most days. Yeah, it's used to be green there. You know, looking at old photos, the oval was green. There were lots of shrubs around town. Now it's just all red dirt, total desert. It's super isolated. So yeah, lots of communities in Australia face lots of neglect from the government. So because it's so far away, it's just out of everyone's thought. So, you know, there's no action plan in terms of how the issue is going to be dealt with. The bore is drying up. There's been newspaper articles saying that people in Yundamu are going to have to move away because, yeah, there's going to be no water. Yeah, there's been no reassurance from the government at all. And also people in the community don't really know how severe the issue is. So, yeah, there's lots of water wastage as well. And the safety of drinking the water. There's lots of salinity. So, yeah, it doesn't taste good at all. And people aren't really sure about how safe it is. There needs to be tests done, but that hasn't happened as well, just another part of the neglect. So yeah, people drink tap water. In terms of drinking clean water, you have to buy it in boxes, which is really expensive from the local shop there. It costs about 12 Australian dollars to get a box of water. So most people resort to drinking Coca-Cola, which is, yeah, probably the main drink of choice.
And Jack, I think what you bring to light that's super interesting is that even within a developed country like Australia, it's incredibly wealthy comparatively to other places, that even Amnesty said that our Indigenous people are living in third world conditions. And I think that you're seeing that front and center. And that there was another group that worked with young Indigenous people as well to create a visual response to what's happening in their communities. And you're right, the government, I do know this being an Australian, the government, they're not doing anything. There's no action plan, there's no vision, there's no sustainable policy in place. Policies waver from rapid change in government to rapid change in government. And these people are just forgotten. And I think that's a core problem of climate injustice around the world. The reason it's occurring is because, unlike many other issues in the world, this is an invisible issue for so many people who have power. They don't see it, so they don't care. And we talked yesterday about that idea that I've mentioned earlier about the action gap. So the gap between us even knowing about stuff and then doing anything. And I feel like a work like yours, Jack, helped close that gap a tiny bit. Like you're showing people in our global community what is really going on in these spaces. I think it was really, really, really worthwhile. Anna's just thrown a question at you, Jack. How can the voices of those vulnerable communities you are working with be heard by society? I think that's a great question to move on to. So Jack, we'll start with you, and then I'm going to ask you the same thing, Sarah. How can voices of these vulnerable communities that you are working with be heard by society? So Jack, do you want to kick off with responding to Anna with that? Sorry, I muted you. I'm going to unmute you. Oh no, that's Adam. Sorry, Adam, I'm not saying anything private. You're on. Go for it, Jack.
Okay, cool. So I thought a good way would be to make a video and to not only share it with micro galleries, but share it to local members of parliament and also to the Australian public, because yeah, most people in Australia live in a bubble when it comes to these issues. Like I was definitely one of those people. I thought I knew a lot about Indigenous issues in Australia, but then going out to community, I really had no idea. It was a total eye-opener. And also in terms of their voices being heard, the issues facing these people, climate change is really important, but it, I guess, isn't in the minds of people living there. They have other issues that come first before climate. So this project was really good in the sense that it was educative and it involved lots of young people, and we discussed what climate change actually is. And then they got a sense of that and realized that it was their future that was being affected. And then from that, I guess it's given young people like a base to, tell their voice to people. But because it's so isolated, and in Australia, you know, there's lots of issues with racism, and there's all these stereotypes about First Nation people. I guess it's really important that it comes from them and doesn't come from me, for example. I can set up like help with a platform and an idea, but I think it's their voices that really need to be heard on a grand scale in terms of changing stereotypes and also understanding the issues that they face.
I think you've said something really important there, Jack, which is that it has to come from the local community. Like some of us are working in communities that we're not part of necessarily, we're an outsider, and we must empower the people within that community, otherwise it doesn't have any point. A really great example is all the unrest happening here in Hong Kong. A lot of outsiders want to support that, but we're very aware the voice of the people, the local Hong Kong people, has to be heard, otherwise the impact isn't the same. Very difficult to do that though. Let's come back to that later. I think it's a really great point to explore, because I think as a global community, there are ways that we can connect Indigenous people. Jack, you're working with Indigenous people potentially from Colombia and Indonesia and the Philippines, because they're having a shared experience in some ways, even though in other places, maybe there's potential there to resonate their messages out, utilizing each other. Okay, Sarah, so I'm going to reiterate the question Jack just said. How can the voices of vulnerable communities that you're working with be heard by society?
Okay, so first of all, like Fiji, like its neighbors across the South Pacific, remains one of the smallest contributors to global carbon emissions, as we're not as highly industrialized, but we face a lot of devastating consequences of extreme weather patterns. The most affected, we were the cyclone Winston, which was in 2014, caused like 44 deaths and had affected thousands, hundreds and thousands of people with a $1.4 billion damage. And the issue here is that most people either don't know about climate change or don't think it's real. As a lot of people, while we were painting the bridge, came up to us and were like, oh, climate change isn't real. And so we had like an interesting conversation trying to explain stuff. And I think the most important thing to do first is to raise awareness to all of them. So what we're currently doing is creating children's books about climate change and taking it to the settlements that we visit and try to explain to the kids in simple terms and like show visuals on what's currently happening. And we're trying to make their voices heard by going to all of the media. And currently, just next week, we're going to Fiji One, which is our country's TV station, to talk about the project.
That's amazing. They're just incredible. I love the ideas, the coloring book, the reaching people through whatever medium that they're accessing. I remember working with somebody who was working in Vanuatu, and the way they were accessing community there to change how they were thinking about certain social issues was through theatre performance, because the kids loved going, and the parents would go with them and then absorb it as well, loved going and watching performance. It makes sense to them. It's storytelling. And I think from all of my research that I've found, people don't just want an artwork thrown in their faces. They want to hear a story. And that story can be obviously communicated through whatever you're producing, but the story has to be there. And I think all of you have hit on video in some way, creating a video. And what I'm seeing from everything that we're putting out there, video gets the most traction from everyone. It seems to be the most consumable, easily accessible way of communicating with people. So I highly encourage you all to make, 1 to 2 minute, I actually think 3 minute is the ultimate, but videos of the work that you are doing or you have done on this issue to circulate it, because it's highly effective. Okay, so Ayu, I'm going to throw over to you now. What was the community response to your call for climate action and justice when you did your work? What kind of community response was there, if any? We had Wilson from Kenya yesterday talking about the absolute indifference he faced, but that is indeed a response anyway, which tells us a lot. So guys, girls pay the bills. What was the community response to your action?
Mostly they came with good appreciation by giving us moral support and helping us promote the project. We are very happy that the response is very unpredictable.
And positive.
Yeah, and positive. Like they like reposting and share it to their group. Our film, yeah. But some of the community doesn't put their concern on this issue because of some of them concerned about another happening issue in Indonesia. Like I gave the story at the group before about the controversial law draft that makes half of Indonesia citizens, mostly students, did a demonstration, a huge demonstration all over the city here. And the bigger demonstration one is in Jakarta, and they like distracted to this issue rather than climate change issue. And then what I saw, some of them just don't care about this issue, like what Sarah said. They even didn't know what's happening with the world, gitu kan? Yeah, something like that. It's very sad. There are still a lot of people who didn't care about this.
And I think this is something that, again, is really interesting for people in developed countries to hear. We have the privilege to opt into caring about this issue and to take action on this issue. I have that privilege. But many people are just struggling to survive. I'm sure those of you who are in Nepal right now or live there, it's one of the poorest countries in the world. People are genuinely trying to work out how they're going to get their next meal or bottle or box of water. And so climate action and addressing climate justice is a privileged position to be in. And I think being aware of that and taking our privilege and putting it into places and helping put it on the radar of people who are so busy thinking about issues that are immediately more important to their survival is again part of that closing the action gap that we can contribute towards. And I think that you did that. I honestly was so terrified for you though, standing in the middle of that road. I was like, some climate denier is going to run you over. So I'm really pleased you're all okay and there wasn't such a negative reaction. But yeah, very brave, well done. Sarah, I'm going to flick the next question to you. Do you feel like the mural and Sea Level 2080 appearing in your community, do you feel like that provoked anybody to action and change of thought? Oh, hang on,
Okay. I feel like in a way it did, but not to everyone. Like, it's good that we're starting like from somewhere at least. It connected a lot of our citizens. Like, we had a lot of people come in, sit down, talk to us about, like, people would ask us why we're doing this, and that's how the conversation would start. And then we've been posting on social media and people have been commenting on like how great of a work it is, while others have been like, oh, climate change isn't real. We also had religion come in, and you know, there was just a lot of interesting conversations. And we had like people come in and picked up rubbish around the area that we were working in. There was like a lot of plastic underneath the bridge, so we had that. And there's fishing boats near the bridge we're painting. So a lot of people were like, oh, you need to talk to the government about this or that. So I guess in a way it started the conversation we wanted to, as climate change isn't often talked about here.
Yeah, great. Well done. Jack, I'm gonna throw to you now and ask, do you believe that arts can genuinely be used as a tool for climate action and climate justice in communities?
Yeah, so art has been a really good tool in the context I'm working because it's so integral to people's life there already. So I'm constantly amazed by how intrinsic art is to all the young people that I work with. They just like produce this incredible art just because they must be watching their, you know, parents make art around the house all the time. Like, I don't know if anyone's seen Australian First Nations art. It changes all over the country, but it's like absolutely mind-blowing. But yeah, so in terms of using that as a tool, it was a great bridge because it's not gendered at all when it comes to sport. Sometimes there's some sports that only boys do or only girls do, whereas art is something that everyone can do and it doesn't have that stigma around it. So that was really helpful. Also in terms of it being public, so it was a way of getting such a strong message out in the public space, also in a subtle way. So people, yeah, were able to walk past and just ask what was happening, and then that would create a discussion around climate. So, you know, where I'm living, I don't think there's one person who doesn't believe in climate change. Like, it's just so obvious. And in terms of publicly stating that,
just quickly, that's an extraordinary comment because I literally hear the exact opposite from absolutely everybody I speak to. So it's so tangible for you guys out there. it's so real that that's it. Now everyone believes, but it's awful that you've got to get to the point where an entire community that's probably been there for 70,000 years, that's their legacy, is having to leave a region because it is so real that actually everyone there believes in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite amazing. Like lots of elders talk about how green it used to be and how it used to rain all the time. Yeah, now there's animals walking around, like kangaroos are dying. I've seen one kangaroo since I've been there. And, you know, other parts of Australia, there's just like hundreds of kangaroos bouncing around. And I thought, hey, I'm going to the desert and there's going to be like all these kangaroos and goannas and stuff. But yeah, they're literally dying and you just see their bones on the ground.
Okay.
So that's really sad. Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, we're all very excited now. Okay, well, what do you think? Because so many people don't, when people think of Australia or think of some of Fiji and Indonesia, there's often the coastlines, the beaches, the green, the, you know, tourism. For all of your countries, you all share this. And the reality is very, very different. And I think this is something that your artworks were putting out there to the global community, that things aren't necessarily as they're being narrated by our governments, of course, but we understand that, but not many other people necessarily do. And I think art is a great way to help people consider that point of view. All right, I want to end now on one final statement each about the most positive thing that you think your artwork contributed. And don't be modest. Let's start with you. Girls Pay the Bills. The most positive thing you think came from doing that project.
Okay. So, of course, we hope this work will give a lot of impacts in the future. And I don't know. I'm kind of pessimistic about this, but I like no matter which way it is, as long as we speak, we believe that it will lead to a change. Is it small or big? At least we try to speak up about it, like something like that.
You did your bit to close the gap of understanding, knowledge, action, awareness. Yeah, I think that's great. Sarah.
Okay.
There is a
so basically,
background just checking on you every now and then.
oh, probably.
She's like in the background, so excited.
Yes. So since our bridge is like right next to the market, a lot of people from the rural villages come to the market to sell their fish or vegetables, and that way we were able to spread and raise awareness to them, as well as we have tourists often coming down there, and just a lot of people, different ages and from different places, with a lot of people driving by. And I feel like, you know, it reached a lot of people. And also one side of the bridge, which has like different artists trying to like portray what they think climate change is, including like kids 5 years old, 6 years old. We're trying to explain to them and then have them paint on one side. And it's like really cute, but like at the same time they understand that throwing rubbish isn't good, or the pollution from factories and everything. So I guess it reached quite a positive impact, and it just allows everyone to have a visual and understand while being engaged in the activity.
They're extraordinary, amazing. And one day I got an email from Sarah who's just very casually like, oh, look, I need a letter from micro galleries to give to the mayor to make sure it's okay to do this. Like, she's working with compliance, she's talking to government. So well done, really good. And Jack, we might just end on you. The most positive outcome you think came from the work that you did and the message that you had.
Okay, sure. So I like how this project raised awareness about the environmental issues, but it also dealt with social issues. So people came together who wouldn't necessarily, and then spoke about like the future of their community. So socially and environmentally it was quite powerful. But hopefully the best news hasn't come yet, so we're still yet to get copyright permission for using the song and the video and all that. And we hope to send it to local government and to local media, and hopefully the young people's voices can be heard on a bigger scale outside of the community, which is the main objective of the project, really.
Thanks, Jack. That's brilliant. I mean, all three groups here are just the most extraordinary people. You're working in really difficult, restrained circumstances. And I think that what you're achieving amongst that is just incredible. And seeing it all come to fruition and being able to share it has been amazing. So congratulations and well done. I'm going to open it up now to everybody else. You can turn your mic on, jump on and ask someone a question, turn your camera on if you like and you're not in your pajamas, or if you are in your pajamas, like we're all friends here. And so we're going to have like 5-10 minutes of questions, and then we're going to do a little bit of a quick wrap-up session with just outcomes that we can record. So Adam says, thanks to all three of you for claiming public space, whether physical space or digital space, to make your voices and demands heard. I second that. Very impressive. There are plenty of easier ways to have spent your time, and I think doing what you're doing is just incredible. Does anyone have any questions for our panel members and their works?
So, hi, Girls Pay the Bills. I was wondering, you guys made a video, right? So is there any way to access it? Or if we could watch it?
The video, are you referring to?
Yeah, the video.
It's there is a video on our IGTV channel. I believe Girls Pay the Bills also have it on YouTube. So I'll guys hand over how they can access it by you.
Okay, so thank you.
Aya's just turning on her mic. One moment. Here, I'll help you.
Okay. Okay, it's just like Kat said, we already posted. We launched the video, the film, on 21st September. At the same time, when we also doing live performance, between that. You can see, you can watch them on our YouTube, official YouTube channel.
Adam,
and the link is
obviously at his computer, so he has very kindly.
Oh, thank you, Adam.
Everyone to see, so you can directly watch it after this.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We'll also be hosting it, featuring it again on our social media as well, if you're already part of that. And then finally, we'll have an online exhibition on the 2nd of November, and you'll be able to see that as part of the broader context of works as well. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your question, then.
Any other questions, guys?
I'm going to turn my video on because I have a question for you, Pat.
In the house.
Hello. I want to hear from you, Kat. I want to hear, like,
because you have enough.
Well, I guess my question to you is, like, what unexpected sort of events have made you have what has bowled you over in a way that you weren't expecting through this series of events?
The amount of works that came out, like, you know, I'm always a bit of a, oh yeah, we'll have thousands of works and we'll reach millions of people kind of person, but probably the realist in me doesn't think that's actually going to happen. And quite often with the kinds of projects I work on, it certainly is pushing the proverbial uphill often and chasing people and making sure people have done things and admin and compliance. This work just rolled like a runaway train. Just an amazing amount of people signed up and then didn't sign up but did work anyway. They were sending so much content to us that we couldn't keep up with it. A team of 4 or 5 people over the period of time, we couldn't keep up with it. I'm still downloading things, trying to put things up onto social media. It's just been incredible. And the outcomes were on a level I couldn't have hoped for. Like, I was expecting some great murals, some great wheat pastes, you know, a sea level 2080 or 7. But what happened was, like, a guy in Bangladesh out of nowhere puts up sea level 2080, and then all the different interpretations that occurred where they took their own creative ideas and made them a reality using your initial creative idea, Adam, and then getting incredible videos, and then seeing kids in the middle of Australia, in the middle of a dusty area, talking about water, and then having Sarah, 17 years old, lead an entire project and organization come into our field of view. I think it's just broadened our global community. It's broadened the reach of the conversation we're having. And this was all very exciting. And particularly the idea of watching works, as I mentioned before, just bubble across the earth like a wave. It was just astounding to be a part of that. What I've found the most frustrating, however, is we really rely on social media to amplify what you're all doing. And recent changes in social media have made that extraordinarily difficult for an organization like Microgalleries. Because of Trumpism, social media is really restricted being able to promote posts and promote your work to a broader community, which sometimes I will do to make sure it gets to targeted groups who aren't normally going to be seeing what we're doing. So, for example, it would be great to be able to reach Fiji or rural Nepal by targeting those through paying. And because we're talking about a social issue, Facebook and Instagram have restricted our ability. Oh, hello, cutie. We have restricted, sorry, Sarah's got a little muffin who's just emerged into the frame. Yeah, it has restricted our ability to do that. And I think what was intended to restrict political lobby groups has actually, in fact, silenced people like us in a way. And I found that incredibly difficult. But on top of that, I think talking about this issue triggers their algorithms. So anything I put up about what we're working on immediately has a lower engagement. And so we're fighting this kind of battle on the ground politically with things like Extinction Rebellion and the school strikes movement. And then we're trying to overlay with engaging community and making the conversation normalized in some way so that it's something everyone's always talking about and viewing everything through that framework. But now on top of that, we're fighting the only way I really had to access people at a reasonable level. And so I think the solution is we keep trying, we keep working, and we keep having forums and conversations like this that I can record and email to everybody, and they get it. 100% of people get that email, whether they choose to keep going into it or not. And they're going to listen to your conversation, I hope. And we're going to reach people in new and alternative ways. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, Adam. I feel like I've been talking continuously for about 7 years, but I think somewhere in there, maybe there was something good. At the end of yesterday's forum, I think I actually repeated an American political slogan from someone. I don't know where that came from. Like, so that's, I'm going to edit that out. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Kishan, look at you.
Hello. Yeah, because everyone is putting the video on, so we like better connect with them, you know.
Look at my friend. Look at you. I thought you'd be exhausted. So well done.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I was also just thinking about it, like the girls pay the bills. They were really amazing, and like what they said, like, I mean, yeah, it's obvious that we get pessimistic at times, and you know, like I think, you know, these kind of events should be done again and again, you know, so again and again. It's just this not just one time, but it's like I think it's a continuous process, and when it's a process, it takes a long time. And this is just one step, and then there's other step, and then, you know, there's no ending. Like yesterday, I was on some mountain 4,500 meters up, you know, but there was no ending, you know. I was going this one uphill, and there's other hill, and there's other hill, you know. There was no ending at all. I guess it's similar to what we're doing here. So we need to do it again and again, and it comes to a point where you could see that, you know, oh, this is where we started off and this is where we get now. And yeah, and like from our event, you know, like I don't know if there was any bigger impact in the people that were coming there, but I'm sure that the people that were engaged with us, like all the vendors, all the musicians, all the volunteers, you know, now they would think about something, and in future when they do something, I'm sure that they will be cautious about if you know, like they'll be cautious about the environment and what their efforts could change, you know, doing it. Yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you, Kishan. And I think you're right, and your energy and words are really inspiring me to think maybe we should do this again. I'm pretty sure all my friends are crying, begging me not to. But I agree. At the beginning of the forum today, I was reading a quote by Bill McKibben that talks about what we're lacking is the momentum. And I think we're seeing that now. We're starting to get it. And I think you're right. We all have a role to play in continuing that momentum. So yeah, hopefully we can try and do that. Anna has written, she's really amazed and inspired by everyone's work. Jack agrees, Kishan, these messages need to be reinforced over and over and over. That's a really great point. I'm just going to say this, and anybody else who has a question, please get ready, because I'm going to do a final call. So think about what you might want to ask. It's your last one. When I was, I met with a guy who was running the Glacier Trust, and they're a fantastic NGO. Check them out. They're just doing incredible stuff. Obviously, glaciers are incredibly important, kind of like freezers of the earth, and what's happening to them is going to affect all of us in a myriad of ways. So they're running a really important organization. And we had a really great conversation about why are people not getting on board with this issue? Why are we still in Fiji that's about to go underwater having a conversation with people about whether or not this is actually even happening? And he's used the example of littering, the campaign to stop littering, which I don't want to speak for the developing countries. I know that you're still at the point when you're fighting littering, and you still have campaigns trying to change people's behavior about that. But in developed countries throughout the 80s, there were strong campaigns everywhere about stopping littering. So when I, was a kid, people still kind of littered, but by the time it was communicated to my generation over and over and over and over and over again, I can't even imagine like throwing away a piece of fluff anymore that I've picked off my clothing. I've been so conditioned to understand that any form of littering is not acceptable. And if I see anybody else do it, I literally have an embodied physical reaction to it. But that took a whole generation, which is what it takes to make change. At least an entire generation, being, God forbid, I can't think of another term, re-education or reconditioning or new modes of awareness. But apparently climate change is so intangible. As we said with the quote in the beginning, it's so removed in terms of distance, physical, and in terms of time, that it's too easy for people to not make change. And another thing that I recently heard was that people are like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And they want to hear, stop using straws and maybe walk to the shop, don't drive your car. But actually, when they hear what they really have to do, they don't want to do it anymore. You need to stop consuming fossil fuels, stop flying, stop doing this. And people don't want to do that. So creating momentum and making this a normalized conversation instead of one where we're still trying to convince people, I think is such an important first step. And Kishan, you're right, you've inspired me, we must keep doing this over and over again. As independent practitioners, some of us are already doing that. It really surprised me in the forum earlier yesterday, where a lot of people said, this is the first time I've worked with this subject. So I think this is a really great ignition moment for all of us, I hope. Any final questions for our panel before we just do I know we're running a bit over time, but you're also amazingly interesting. So any final questions? We can keep the questions like flowing via WhatsApp or email as well. So if you think of something later, I can facilitate that. Okay.
Maybe a bit information responding to Kishan's statement before. So actually, the Infinite Border isn't. We still developing this project to the more like we are planning to do more live performance in the future. and then we believe like we have to put this work on people's face. Like we have to keep doing this, like doing this, the performance, because I'm not. I personally didn't feel the this film well published, because of in Indonesia there is a more important issue to concern of. And I think after this, we still have to do the live performance to inform them that, hey, you missed things, you missed something.
So,
Yeah.
my merchandise
Yeah. Just that's a bit information about this project in the future. Like that.
I think your project's amazing. I think it's got huge potential to get funding, and that you do it in places around the world that have exceptional levels of air pollution. I think it's really powerful work. We should talk about that. That's a great idea. Let's do that. We're done. We're doing it. All right. So last 5 minutes, what we're going to do, Zoom offers a cheeky little whiteboard, which I thought was just a slightly more interactive way of us maybe wrapping up some outcomes. So I believe you should be able to see a whiteboard now up on your screen. If you can't, can someone just jump on the mic and tell me? And what you'll also see is you have the capacity to also write on it or draw on it, annotate on it. So apparently somewhere you just click annotate button. If you can't find that, let me know. I probably can't help you, but just have a look around. So what I thought is, if you could just jump on your mics, if you have any final thoughts, statements, questions, things that we've talked about that we should grab and put onto this whiteboard that we can share with other people. So for example, positive things about the project that we definitely want to record down, things that we could think about doing better. I'm going to start off with Kishan's great point about doing it over and over and over again. Okay, so just jump on in with any roundup thoughts from today or the project itself, or anybody who's a visitor today that's listening and has any ideas as somebody who's sitting outside the project. It'd be super valuable to hear from you too.
So yeah, community-led projects. So making sure the voice of those who are the most vulnerable are heard.
Yeah, great.
I would say that all of these small actions add up to something much larger.
I agree.
Yeah, and just understanding different people's experiences around the world and how they can relate.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are nailing this already. It was like pulling teeth with the other group. For the win. And a smiley face from someone. I'm very pleased with that. I can see you want to say something. Go on. I can see you.
It's as simple as to open a huge door, we only need a tiny key.
Poets, all of you. I'm going to quote you on that. So I hope you didn't steal it from somewhere. And if you did, you better message me and tell me before I get angry people on Twitter. I heard someone else there who went to jump in, not realizing AU was already talking. You want to jump in now?
And yeah, like we were saying, like what is the impact of art on this? So it's all very difficult to be in others people's shoe, you know, but I think art has the power that makes us reach this shoe and make us feel that how it's to be standing in other people's shoe, you know? Yeah, you should better quote that too, Kat.
Did, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, and along the same lines there, like art is a language that everyone can understand.
point on that, which is obviously something we try and work on a lot, is that we must remember that, yeah, we all believe that, and we hopefully believe and know it to be true, but not everybody does. A lot of people have been trained to believe that art is a magical superpower, that you must have some academic training or exceptional intelligence to have a valid opinion on it, to engage with it, to enjoy it, to explore it. And I think doing this project, what all of you did was break that belief down for so many people. So Sarah, you were on a highway next to a market, accessing people who would never normally even think about appreciating, accessing, looking at, having an opinion on art. And for example, you showed them that, of course, that is something that should be available to them, and they have the capacity to go there. So yeah, any other thoughts? Last 2 minutes. I mean, yesterday someone drew a heart, so I'm disappointed that hasn't been replicated, but whatever. Oh, I feel like that was potentially you, Kishan or Jack. You both have an equally cheeky bemused look on your face. Final thoughts, my friends, before we wrap this up and I go and get the largest coffee in existence. Adam Kuby, you're on.
I can't figure out how to draw anything, so I'll just I'll just say a huge, huge thank you to everyone who participated.
Absolutely.
Just incredible. So I know you're not thinking about doing it again, but maybe next year, or maybe you are thinking about doing it again. But I think we have a good template now for continuing this.
And quite often the templates are the hardest. That's the legwork in so many ways. I feel like you guys have created a phenomenal groundswell of support. And I mean, the documentation coming from you all is just irresistible to so many other artists who are now, oh, we should have done something, or how can we get involved? Or they riffed off it and went out 3 days later, and it was amazing. So I guess, like, yeah, in an ideal world, we would certainly be doing this again. But as we are all experiencing, resources are so slim on the ground. And asking you guys to continuously keep giving and giving is really difficult. So yeah, if anyone has any ideas, look, if anyone knows anyone at Patagonia, hook me up. Let's get some of their money. I'm going to send this to them. Look, I love whoever's drawing. It's brilliant. Final minute, final thoughts, final words. Jump on, get them on there.
Hey, I'm just gonna put my video to say hello. I'm here.
Hello, Anna.
Hey.
Oh, hey! Look at you. It's late at night for you.
Thank you, Kat, for spreading the magic from so far away. We seem to have the same issues, and I was gonna say that our project was so positive. It was led by a lot of girls, despite all the people that didn't believe on us. The environmental movement here in Colombia didn't believe on us, and we were surrounded by a lot of artists. And I don't know if we actually plant a little seed of transformation here, but what I know is the artists that were believing in our project were spreading that seed in all the things that they are doing now. They are using climate change as an umbrella. I don't know what happened with the general public or the 1,000 people that were that day, but I know that the artists were using it here. People are a little bit unaware. We know that we have faced a lot of bad issues here on human rights violation, but I think climate change is the biggest. And all those issues can be embedded in climate change. So we cannot talk about environmental activists here in Colombia that are being killed if we don't talk about the issues of climate change and the climate ecological crisis they're facing. So climate change embeds everything. Is what I said to everyone when they say, oh no, but we're very busy trying to fight against human rights vulneration, but we are facing the biggest one, and climate change, we need to unite it, and that's the umbrella. And yes, I want to thank Kat and Luigi, because without that initiative, we wouldn't be able to think art as a vehicle. Here we have face a lot of protests, social protests, even in Ecuador, and I feel very, very sad because there's still a lot of violent protests. So we have to change. Our weapon needs to be the art, no violence, especially here in the global south and the people that live in global south.
Thank you, Anna. That's really great to hear that information and hear what you're saying. And I love the idea. Someone said something about that in the last forum. They were talking in relation to scientists, that the scientists felt like they were planting the seeds, but maybe as artists, we could be the ones to nurture it and help it flourish into something bigger. And yeah, I really like the analogy.
Also, I think, thank God we are artists. Like, I believe that art is the closest way to communicate with society. Art touch every single class level of society, like from low to high, to middle to high class, and of course, it's art is indirect, but yeah, we hope it still can touch people's empathy, right? Congrats to the artists.
That's a beautiful sentiment to end on. Congratulations to all of you. I know we're working low resource in difficult situations, and we think we're doing something so small, but as we can see, particularly when we come together like this, we're doing something really important. Thank God we're artists. What a positive thing to put into the world to contribute and way to live. And I'm very, very honored and privileged to have shared a little bit of that journey with you dudes. Thank you so much. I want to end on a Bill McKibben quote because I think this captures potentially the spirit of what we were trying to do. He says, spend 70% of your spare time doing things close to home and the other 30% doing work at the global and national level. And I think you certainly have achieved that balance through this project and everything else that you're all doing. You are extraordinary humans. Thank you so much for being part of the project or for coming and speaking and being part of this online community today. Hopefully we can do more things like the project and like this kind of follow-up discussion, which is just wonderful to have such a diverse range of people come together and talk about things, talk about the same issue from so many different perspectives. I think getting better at mobilizing together as a global community is a strength for us. So we need to keep working on it. Thank you. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your morning coffee, enjoy going back to bed, Kishan, and recovering. Thank you all so much. If you have follow-up questions, you want to be connected to one of the artists that you've seen speaking today, or you want to see more of their work, anything you need, WhatsApp or email me. I love being connected with all you guys. You're phenomenal humans and you should all spend more time together. So just shout out and I can do that. Otherwise, thank you. I'm officially ending our virtual forum. Thank you all very much for being here. And I really look forward to spending time with all of you virtually and in the same physical space, I hope very soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Gracias.
Thank you. Terima
Bye-bye.
kasih.
Good day to everyone.
Woohoo.